What's up guys, Frankie Dingleberry here. If you're new to PC stuff, you've probably heard the term overclock quite a bit. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically increasing the clock speed by screwing with the voltage and the multiplier in order to get every bit of performance that you possibly can out of your CPU. And some people are intimidated by overclocking, and I don't blame them, because it is quite scary going into your BIOS and screwing with all these settings that you may or may not know exactly what they do. So today I thought I'd do a little experiment and test the differences between my CPU when it's overclocked versus when it's running at its stock speed. And so I thought that you guys might find that interesting. So if you do, then hit that like button for me because that's awesome, and subscribe, and yeah. So with the intro out of the way, we are going to be doing 3 different tests. The first one is going to be a Cinebench test, the second is going to be a Sony Vegas rendering test, and the third will be gaming benchmarks. And so my specs will be in the description down below, but we're basically going to be doing a GTX 960 EVGA superclocked version with 16GB of Kingston HyperX Fury DDR3 clocked at 1866 MHz, and the CPU we are going to be clocking today is going to be the AMD FX-6300. Normally the CPU runs at 3.5 GHz out of the box with a turbo to 3.8 GHz and then also turbos to 4.1 GHz. So there is something interesting to know, and that's the stock value is going to be 3.5 GHz, it turbos to 3.8, and there's also a turbo to 4.1. But when doing anything multi-threaded, it will only turbo to 3.8 GHz. It will not go to 4.1 unless you're doing intensive single-core applications. So the stock clock is going to be 3.8 GHz because everything that we're testing is multi-threaded. And the overclocking speed is going to be 4.4 GHz, which is usually what I run it as. So yeah, with all that said, hopefully we can answer the question of whether or not it is worth it to overclock. Now let's jump into those benchmarks. So there you have the Cinebench and the Sony Vegas render tests, and as you can see there's quite a big difference between the two. So yeah, now let's go into the gaming section of the benchmarks. And as usual, the benchmark numbers were not taken during the recording of the gameplay used in the video. So there you have the benchmark scores. And so I asked if it's worthwhile to overclock, and personally, in my opinion, I do think so. I guess games didn't get too much of a boost as I was kind of expecting them to, but then again, I don't have any CPU intensive games like Ashes of the Singularity or GTA 5, but the games did play more smooth and the stutters did happen less frequently. So in relevance to gaming, I do believe overclocking is definitely worth it. And as for Cinebench and Sony Vegas, you can tell that really CPU intensive things do benefit from overclocking. So there was a 27% increase in my Cinebench score, and there was an 18% increase in my Sony Vegas render times. And considering I'm about to be rendering out this video with many video tracks, I am definitely glad that I do overclock. But yeah, I just spent the last about 6 hours working on this video, and I am tired as poop, so if you enjoyed it, please leave me a like, because I'd really appreciate it. It did take me a long time. And leave me a comment letting me know any other things you'd like to see, and definitely subscribe for more PC related content. So until next time, peace trout YouTube.